Hi, Leah. I don't know. Hi, Happy. Hi, Chad. J.H. Stewart. It's Joe time. I like that one. Thank you, Leah. I appreciate the likes. How's everybody doing today? Stout now. Louis Eggers from Arizona. Nice. My husband has family there. His aunt and uncle live in Phoenix, and all of their, well, only 3 out of their 5 children live there too, but we've been to visit a few times. I can't live there though, because after living in Las Vegas for 4 years, Phoenix is too hot. So tonight we're going to cover a couple of topics. One of them is a little bit more about nail health. And then the other one, sorry, we just had a mishap at the dinner table. The other one is going to be about blood pressure, because that's been coming up a lot as well. And then some people have some questions about essential oils they want answered. They're welcome to ask them. If you guys want to know what's going on with the 5-pound challenge, that does start officially. It starts on Saturday. The 5-pound challenge, it is free. I will go live for the first time on Monday in that group. I will be posting a video explaining what you are doing with the 5-pound challenge on Friday, so tomorrow. But officially that starts on Saturday for you guys. And that's just going to be a way to kind of see how I go about running one of my programs, and also how we do the coaching that happens, the group coaching in the program. And there are some handouts already uploaded for you to download in that Facebook group. That link is in my profile. And the 5-pound challenge, it doesn't have to be about 5 pounds. Like if you don't feel like you have 5 pounds to lose, hey, Polly Oceans, how are you? And it says there's a question, but I don't see it. It says there's a question asked by you, but I don't see the question. Where do I find that question? So if you feel like you don't have 5 pounds to lose, not a big deal. After you join that group, message me and I will send you some separate instructions on how to do that and still gain something out of it, including better sleep, because that's one of the things that most of us don't do well. Speaking of that, hi. Does anyone in this group wear a device to monitor their sleep? Either the Whoop, the Oura Ring, a Fitbit tracker, something like that. Does anybody actually monitor what's happening when they sleep? That's a question that I have. If you do, type it in. You love your Whoop. How long have you had it, YY? And what kind of data does it give you? Short Goalie also uses a Whoop. Hi from Delaware. How are you? So again, if you use a Whoop or a Ring, Fitbit, Apple Watch, whatever the device is, I have a Garmin watch that tracks sleep. Type in what you use and what the data is that you like most about it and what it tells you. Because sleep is one of the, 6 years. Well, I'm glad you're home safe. Sleep is one of the most important things you can do for your health. That's awesome. Good job. It tells you your blood oxygen level. That's good. So I sleep with an Oura Ring, and sometimes I'll also wear my Garmin just to see how they compare. And the things that I like about it is it gives me my resting heart rate at night, which tells me if I'm actually recovering during sleep. It'll give me how much time I spend in REM sleep, which is important. And it'll also tell me how much time I spend in deep sleep versus restless sleep. So I pay attention to those three things. The Oura Ring also measured body temperature. I don't know if the Whoop does that. One of the things I like about the Whoop better than the Oura Ring, and even the Garmin better than the Oura Ring, is that I can't wear the Oura Ring when I'm working out. It's too bulky. And if I were just going for a run, it would be fine. But it's too bulky to wear lifting weights. So I don't get any data from my workouts, which is a little frustrating. So I use my Garmin, but that's the only thing. The Whoop, I don't even know how often it needs to be charged, but from what I understand, you can get all of your workout data, recovery data, and it'll even tell you what point in time during the day you've recovered. Thank you for the rose. So that's kind of important to track. And if you're not tracking it, so other than the gentleman who's a bodyguard, I'm sure he has metrics that he tracks on his job. I just don't know what they are off the top of my head. But most of us, the caterpillar eyelashes are bugging me. I have no idea why. I don't know why somebody would want to do that to their eyes. It actually damages the eyelashes when they take them off. And when they fall off, they break because they're so heavy. So the metrics that we track, right? If you're just an average person who has a job, there are things that you're responsible for tracking at your job, or your manager tracks them for you. And a lot of those, they call them key performance indicators, or KPIs. And you may have to fill out a KPI sheet every week. And a lot of times it has to do with productivity, your utilization. It'll have to do with if your clients have paid their bills, that kind of stuff. So when we're looking at overall health, there are things that we should track too, and our sleep is one of them. How much water you take in is another one. I don't know if you guys saw the video, but yesterday the Alexa health tip for the day was to drink water, and I was surprised by the variability in the amount of water that people drink. I don't know why, because I've done probably a million videos on hydration, but somebody put that they only drink 2 liters of water a day. 2 liters of water is about 64 ounces. Well, what they know now is that you need at least 80. Hey, how are you? Yeah, the HRV is a great one. I like the HRV. Respiratory rate. My Oura Ring does respiratory rate. My Garmin does not. And then the recovery, yeah. So that's good. So the water intake, your minimum goal for water should be somewhere between 80 and 100 ounces. If you live somewhere where it's drier, you should be trying to get 128 ounces of water without beer or coffee in it, or alcohol. And I was a little surprised by that, because literally you are 70% water. So if you're not drinking enough water, things will change. Actually, not drinking enough water can cause your blood pressure to be high. Not drinking enough water can cause your kidneys to go into distress, which also then affects your heart. Not drinking enough water causes dehydration in the small intestine, which then causes constipation, which then messes up the gut and creates a whole host of things going wrong with hormones, neurotransmitters, and nutrients getting to cells. So the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, you can drink too much water. So Dumb Dan, I don't know why your name is Dumb Dan. You should not call yourself dumb. It bothers me that you have that as your handle. You shouldn't over drink water, and you shouldn't, so say you're someone that's drinking 32 ounces and I just told you should be drinking 80. Don't start drinking 80 tomorrow. If you're somebody who's drinking less than what you should be, start increasing 8 ounces for 4 or 5 days. So you're drinking, if you go from 32 ounces, now you're drinking 40 for 4 or 5 days. And then you're going to drink 48 for 4 or 5 days. And then 56 for 4 or 5 days. And then like, so it just goes on and on until you get to 80, and then you stay consistently at 80. So Chris, you'll overwhelm yourself really quickly. It could cause some sleep issues, and you could cause a significant electrolyte imbalance, and electrolytes are how your heart functions. So again, if you're drinking more than a gallon of water a day, which is 128 ounces or about 4 liters, you should probably make sure that you're somewhere where it's really dry and you're working outside a lot, and that you are sweating a lot. And if you're sweating a lot, especially if your sweat leaves that like white cast on your skin and it's salty, you need to be replacing electrolytes too. So a gallon of water a day for most people is fine. And yeah, water is heavy with chemicals, so you want to make sure that you have a good filtration system. There are a bunch of them on the market. Do I have one that I specifically recommend? There are a few, and really it's about your price point. You can get, I mean, at the minimum, a Brita filter, right? Except that then it's in plastic, and you want to get it out of that plastic as fast as possible. But on the high end, that's Austin in the background. On the high end, there's like the Berkey. Are Sprint waters good? I don't know what Sprint waters are. Hey, Chris. So the other thing is you can buy little 36 to 48 ounces a day. That's too low. You can buy little test strips to test what's in your water. I will say hi to him. And thank you. He has a twin brother. So the test strips, you can buy them off Amazon, and they will tell you what's in your water. And there's a lot of conversation around fluoride in the water and whether or not you should be drinking fluoridated water and all that kind of stuff. It does mess with your gut, believe it or not, and it actually does. There's some new stuff that says it messes with your brain too. So should you be drinking fluoridated water? No. Can you filter it out? Maybe. How much money do you want to spend on filtering water? That's the question you have to answer. There are ion filtration systems that you can get as well, and they average, because they have to be maintained, about $35 a month. So if you want something that somebody else comes and takes care of, you can do something like that. But hydration is super important for maintaining kidneys, which maintains blood pressure, maintaining your liver, which maintains your hormones and detoxification, maintaining your adrenal glands. Yeah, I don't know about energy drinks are a hard no, Chad. I don't know about drinking water out of plastic bottles unless it's an absolute necessity. And here's why. So the question about alkaline water, is it good for you or is it bad for you? An alkaline state in the body is better regardless. It's better for the adrenal glands. It's better for anti-cancer properties. It's less inflammatory, all of those kinds of things. But if you're drinking it out of a bottle, it's not any good. And the reason is that water, the expiration date on a bottle of water is like 7 years. So you don't know when they packaged it because they don't put that. Like if they put this water was bottled on date, glass bottles are fine. But if it's a plastic bottle, it's not doing you any good. Also, there's that whole trend of going to the carton of water, like an old-fashioned milk carton. Those are aligned with soy and corn. And those are hormone disruptors. So, better for the environment? Sure. Better for your body? No. Chad, what do you mean by alpha brain? Do you want me to explain why energy drinks are a hard no? Is that what you're asking? That's Alex. They like your guys' hair, by the way. Joe Rogan. I am not a fan of Joe Rogan. I just don't do a whole lot of podcasts because the 3 that I'm hooked on take all my time. So I don't know much about what he thinks about energy drinks or Alpha Brain. I think that Benny's asking about viral stuff. It's real. The long haul syndrome. It's super real. I'm seeing all kinds of things from it. And the biggest thing is nitrous oxide depletion. And I actually even went to a webinar last night where an MD out of Texas, I forget the name of the hospital that she's at, but she was talking specifically about the nitric oxide depletion and how the system of converting L-arginine and L-citrulline to nitric oxide is pretty much broken down by the age of 40 anyway. And then you add something like long haul COVID on top of it and it gets destroyed. And the best place for us to absorb nitric oxide is in the oral cavity, and we're not taking supplements for that. So Chad, there's a couple of things that I recommend for an energy boost. The biggest one is get enough sleep. The second one is let's fix your adrenal glands, because there's something going on there that you feel like you need that energy boost. You should be able to walk away from an energy drink, soda, coffee, any kind of caffeine, pill even, without any symptoms, no headaches, no jitters, no anything, without a problem. If you need it and you are dependent on it, your adrenals are failing you. And yeah, the energy drinks, they're causing heart arrhythmias, they're causing AFib, they're causing all kinds of things that are not good for us. And also, a lot of the energy drinks are also binding to the dopamine receptors in the brain, which then tells your adrenal glands that they don't need to produce dopamine anymore, which means that your body can't naturally produce it. If you need something in the afternoon, that is an adrenal dysfunction, most likely. Thank you, wise one. I am a functional medicine provider. So I take a supplement every day, and the link for that is in my bio. Pant 4964, the essential tremors, they're coming from a lack of something in the brain. Typically, there's a lot of things that it could be coming from. It could be cerebellar, it could be frontal lobe, it could be even Wernicke's area in the brain. And I know that doesn't make a lot of sense if you don't know your brain anatomy. But that is something that would need to be evaluated because it is a primary movement dysfunction of the neurological system. And so it needs to be evaluated separately. And yeah, getting tired around 2 p.m., that's adrenals tanking. So that's a reset issue. Chris, go for it. I'm going to talk for just a minute while you do that about nails. So I did that series of videos on nail health, and somebody else had asked about Terry's nails. Terry's nails are when the whole nail or most of the nail appears to be bright white. It can be a sign of liver disease, diabetes, kidney failure, and congestive heart failure. Our bodies are amazing things. And then you can also get that little half moon to be bright blue, and it's a sign of Wilson's disease or too much copper in your blood. That is kind of crazy, but I think too, it's the same with how did you learn to speak English? You weren't born knowing it, right? You had to learn it over time and what things meant. So because it's a malnutrition issue, depression a lot of times starts because of malnutrition, and there's a lot of research on that. In fact, some of the research over the last 10 years shows that we could stop medicating people even with bipolar disorder and start getting them on the proper nutrition plan, and it would fix the bipolar dysfunction. Yeah, our brain will always know. And actually, your brain has this thing in it called neuroplasticity, where if for some reason something happens, other parts of the brain will start trying to take over the injured area and move to that area that was innervated by the section of the brain that's injured. So it is pretty fascinating how adept our bodies are at change if we support them correctly. So the thing about anemia, malnutrition, depression, if you don't have the little half moons, the person was asking about that. With malnutrition typically comes depression. So if we're not eating the correct foods, we aren't going to get there. And Chris, I have not watched that only because I don't really watch TV. And when I do, it's with my kids and it's Saturday night movie night. So bow tie, that can also be like a mineral deficiency. It could be something in the soil where you grew up. It could be something like that. I had anemia until about 8 months ago. And I'm starting to get the little half moons on all my fingers now. I used to not have them on my pinkies or my ring fingers. And now I have them on all but my pinky on my right hand, and I don't have it on my ring, or it's starting to come up on my ring finger, but my ring finger and my pinky on my left hand. I'll keep that one in mind. So it's Heal on Netflix. I'll write it down. Other things that you want to make sure that you're looking for in the health of your nails, obviously, if your nails are really slow to grow, it can be a sign of an autoimmune disorder. But Danny, you have them on the rest? Hey, Sean, how are you? They test minerals individually, unfortunately. Dr. Lee Cowden, I've heard of that name. So someone asked about placebo effect that we see in patients. Your brain is a fabulous, how was the gym? Is a fabulous healer. So the most convincing studies actually, and don't take this as you should quit your thyroid medication, but the most convincing studies actually are on thyroid dysfunction. Danny, that could also be thyroid dysfunction. That can be a reason why you don't have the Lunili. But the placebo effect in the thyroid studies, where they have a group getting thyroid medication and then they have a group getting the sugar pill, the placebo group does the same or better as the medicated group for up to 6 years. Their thyroid labs come back. And that's, they believe they're getting a medication that's helping them, and so they get better. And Chris, a lot of people believe that, and it's a shame that they feel that way, because you may live the way you want to right now, but how are you going to live 20 years from now? And it is a full lifetime, and the things you do right now, yeah, Danny, because there's normal thyroid and then there's optimal thyroid, and you want to be optimal thyroid. And one of the ways that I look at that too is my husband's grandmother's 99, and until this last couple of years, she could really do just about anything she wanted. Yes, she was slower at it, and yes, she took naps every day, but she also passed her driver's license test at 95 with flying colors. Like, come on. Do you still want to have your sight? Do you still want to have all your limbs? And do you still want to have all your organs working? Or do you want to be sitting in a recliner chair not doing anything? Murphy, yeah, Chris, no joke. I don't do muscle testing. I have thought to take classes a couple of times. It has not been a priority for me right now. I would agree, wise one, but there are people in this world who don't believe that. And this is the other thing. I got an email a couple of weeks ago that was like, hey, I'm going to try this supplement for my blood pressure. And I asked the person how the rest of their health is. That person is my height and weighs almost double what I do, and they think they might have 5 or 10 pounds to lose. And they tell me their health is fine. But they work 20-hour days. They're only sleeping 2 to 3 hours a night. Hey, how are you? And they wanted to just supplement the problem away. But this is the biggest truth you will ever hear out of my mouth, ever. You cannot out-medicate, and he is on a medication, and cannot out-supplement poor lifestyle and poor nutrition. It is, Chris, unhealthy to be underweight, and there are some issues with being underweight. Some of them could be related to gut health. Some of them could be related to hormone health. And some of them can be related to other inflammatory conditions. So it would be specific to what was happening with the person. Can I just recommend something blanketly? No. And I have treated a couple of people who are underweight. The platform for the 5-pound challenge that I'm doing is a bigger program that I run. And that bigger program that I run, I have worked with people coming out of like anorexia treatment facilities, and collagen and keto. I'm going to talk about keto in a minute because I have some very specific thoughts on that. We've used it to actually increase their calorie intake and teach them what a healthy meal looks like, and taught them ways to manage it so that they can then eat a healthy lifestyle and not feel like they're so restricted in their food. And they also can say, what I'm doing is based in research, because the platform that I run is based in research, 50 years worth of research actually. So my thoughts on keto, I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. Hey, how are you? Okay, this is terrible. I forgot your name, but I know where you live. When are you moving back to Colorado? Wait, Lorraine, is that it? Did I get it right? 1,800 calories a day is probably pretty darn good. I don't know what your activity level is, but yeah, that's a decent calorie amount. Louise, shoot, I knew it started with an L. On Tuesday, it'll be good to have you back. So keto, high fat diet, then you're probably good with. So Chris, is this you who's having trouble gaining weight? Because we can talk about that too. But the keto diet, for a lot of people, the keto diet is not good. For most people who do keto, they do it because they want to lose weight, or they're trying to manage blood pressure or blood sugar or something. However, if you eat keto like most Americans eat keto, you're taking in so many saturated fats that your body is struggling. And what I have seen is that every client that I've ever had do keto, even some of them who are doing paleo, end up with gallbladder dysfunction, either it's a gallstone or they start having gallbladder attacks and the gallbladder fails, which is really bad, the cholesterol goes up. I had one client who their cholesterol doubled in a year. And the liver starts having stress. So then they'll like have one beer and they feel not only hungover, but like sick to their stomach, headache, that kind of stuff. So my thoughts on keto are that for most people, they're doing it wrong. There are benefits to keto. So low carb. I think you can eat pretty much as many vegetables as you want, and that's fine. And most people don't get a lot of vegetables. And you can eat up to 2.5 cups of fruit a day and still be okay, depending on what the fruit is and what season it is. So, high glycemic fruits are things like bananas, pineapple, any of your citrus fruits. But if you're using lemon just in your water, that's not really a problem. Let's see. Cherries, when they're in season, can have a high glycemic index. So you want to be careful about that. Peaches, between like May 15th and October 15th, tons of sugar in them. So if you're doing keto, your proteins should come from fish, poultry, and maybe red meat once a week, unless it's wild game that you caught. That's where your fats should be coming from in keto. You can also have avocado, and you can have nuts if that's not something you're allergic to. But a serving of almonds is like 10. And most people just grab a handful and eat like 25. Or they just leave the jar open and keep feeding from it. So that's important to know because you want to monitor what you're doing. People who keto is great for, if you don't have family history of cholesterol issues, if no one in your family has ever had a gallbladder issue, keto is fine for you. If anyone in your family has a gallbladder issue and anyone in your family has high cholesterol, keto may not be your option. Chris, that's not why you're underweight. So yeah, collagen, and I would not run a keto diet with all the stuff that happens with it. The Daniel plan. So that's the optimal 5-and-1 plan. There's also Optavia. I don't like that plan. And the reason I don't like that is because they're still teaching you to eat out of a package, and we need to get away from packaged eating and get back to whole foods. Whole foods are what's going to save us, not packages, not sugar alcohols. Hey, how are you? It has been a while. Somebody asked about the liver. So the job of the liver is to detoxify anything you put in it and anything you breathe in and anything that goes on your skin. It is supposed to produce glutathione. It's supposed to produce testosterone by the conversion of DHEA sulfate into testosterone. And it's supposed to detoxify estrogen from the body. When the liver is overwhelmed, it leaves estrogen alone and lets it do its own thing. Your fat cells produce their own estrogen, and that estrogen is 100 times more potent than the estrogen produced by the ovaries. So it's more likely to make you gain weight around the middle. And hermit crabs, yeah, going gluten-free is one of the best things people can do. But going gluten-free is smart. So when you go gluten-free, you'll find a lot of options that have a lot of high sugar content. And what you really want to find are the ones that have low sugar content if you're using a packaged product. So like I found a bread that has, in 2 slices of bread, has 4 grams of sugar. So if the boys want to make a sandwich, they can. I found crackers that in 9 crackers there's 1 gram of sugar. So there are things like that that you can choose to be healthier, or you can choose to just keep eating the standard American diet even if you're gluten-free, because they make everything with high sugar. So regaining so much, is that weight, Jenny? Well, I'm glad you're catching up on them. So your liver function is super important. If your liver doesn't work, your hormones don't work. If your liver doesn't work, eventually everything becomes toxic. You're losing so much water. Well, that's not a bad thing, right? Because you're losing the inflammatory parts that were wanted to hold on to the water. Yeah, I like the against the grain bread, the rosemary baguette. I buy that one sometimes. Actually, I've had one frozen in the freezer for probably 6 months. That's one that we do use. So I don't use black seed oil, but the research on it is fairly good. You're retaining water. So Jenny, what are you doing with your gluten-free? Are you just eating whole foods then, or are you eating stuff that's coming out of a package? Because that'll make a difference. I don't have a problem with eggs. No one in my family has a problem with eggs. And so I don't have a problem eating them. Jenny, are you also having 3 bowel movements a day? MCT oil, I use it to cook stuff in. Am I going to drink it? Probably not. I tried like the whole bulletproof coffee once. I'm not a fan. I don't want my coffee. I don't want an oily residue in my mouth when I'm done with my coffee. I just want it to taste like coffee. So if we're a lot of time, so when I went gluten-free, okay, so that's probably part of it, because when you go gluten-free, if you're using gluten-free flours specifically, they're what they call sticky flours, because a lot of them are gum flours, and they will cause constipation, which will cause you to retain water because your body wants to try and push stuff out, and you have a thyroid issue. Yeah, so your body is fighting against you, and we need to find a way to get your GI tract to move things through faster, because you're not detoxing and your body's holding onto the water because basically it needs to dilute toxins. So when I went gluten-free, I did not retain water, but when I went gluten-free, that was, over a decade ago, and all the stuff was like all the replacements, because I used to like to just have like a turkey and avocado sandwich. They were terrible. Like they were like awful. So I just went whole foods, and I did not have an issue when I went gluten-free. And it healed a lot of things for me. But that when we see somebody start retaining water, it's usually because their body's not eliminating, and we need to get the body to eliminate. You could start with something as simple as a senna tea. One of the recommendations, good night, Michigan. One of the recommendations that we give people just to kind of start things moving is drink a cup of senna tea at night, and then 32 ounces of lukewarm water with 1/8 of a teaspoon of sea salt in it in the morning. and that'll help things get moving. It's also changing the electrolyte balance, and it helps. I'm sorry you feel like the TV is too high. There are restrictions in this house that I cannot help. Also, if any of you are watching, Senna, Senna, the most common one on the market is called Smooth Move, and it's by Traditional Medicinals. You could also, if you have essential oils, fennel, tarragon, and peppermint will help start moving things if you can't find the senna tea. There's been a lot lately where I've seen people commenting on videos, and somebody even did it to one of mine today, where they're just like, you shouldn't be doing that. It's not your place. That's not your place to be rude to somebody like that. If somebody feels like they're doing something they're capable of doing, if you're jealous of the fact that they're doing it and that's why you feel like you want to write a negative post, rethink about what you're doing. If you're frustrated because you can't do something and you wish you could, think about asking, how did you learn how to do that? And if you're thinking, why would you want to do that? That's probably not an activity that you ever want to do. But ask the question first. Don't just tell somebody you shouldn't be doing that, because you don't know what their situation is. Here's what being rude does, though. It sends negative energy out of you, and it returns negative energy back to you. When we're looking at our overall health, the more time we spend in gratitude, the more time we spend being thankful, the more times we try and lift others up, the more success we have. And when you're rude and you make fun of someone, what if that person was just learning something and they were proud because it was the first time they did it? And they got their coach or their weightlifting instructor or whoever it is to videotape them doing it, and then you just criticize them. You just took away that person's joy, that person's happiness. And that will come back to you. So, like we said at the beginning, how do you want to live 20 years from now? Makes a difference on what we're doing right now. So if you want to be rude and condescending and put rude things out there, expect to have all of that come back to you. And you may not like when it comes back to you, but you don't get that choice anymore because you decided to not filter yourself when somebody else might have needed support. Thank you, Anne. I appreciate that. Yeah, we definitely reap what we sow, and we just don't always know when it's coming. So really think about that. I don't know how many of you guys have seen the video that I did on the 13-year-old with an eating disorder. But that was, somebody started telling her at age 8 that she was fat. And by age 13, she had a full-blown eating disorder. That's not okay. That a 13-year-old who's 110 pounds thinks she needs to lose weight, and she was 5'4". No, I don't get joy out of being mean. You really have to think about the words that you put out there And the most interesting person I think I've ever watched on this is a woman by the name of Carolyn Myss, Myss. She wrote the book Anatomy of the Spirit. She has a couple of other books. And she really talks about every word that you say is a prayer. And if you are praying for negative, what are you looking for? And the words that we use have power, and they have value, and they are a prayer. So watch what you say. Premenopausal diets, the best thing you can do is a whole food diet. You want to focus really on getting enough protein, but getting most of it from poultry and fish. So if any of you are interested in doing the 5-pound challenge, that link is still in my profile. I will be live in my Facebook group every day next week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Mountain Time. It is a free challenge. This is just for you to get an idea of what I do to help people get better. And this is a small chunk. It's 5 days, 7 days really, of what my 12-week weight loss program is, but some of the coaching will come with that in that 5 days too. Which normally I only do coaching once a week. So you guys are going to get me for an entire week, every day for an entire week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Even if you can't do live during that time, yes, your brain and your cells are listening. Those videos will get recorded and they will be left up in that Facebook group. So even if you want to watch them later, you can watch them later. But yeah, there's a lot of research on your cells remembering everything you say. So like the guy whose name is Dumb Dan, he wrote it down even. You typed it out. And now your brain remembers it every time you log into TikTok. And every time someone says, "Hi, do you want a live?" It's not okay. You shouldn't tell yourself you're dumb. And you shouldn't let other people tell you that either. The 12-week program, we start with 2 days of what we call loading, because we're trying to prime the engines all to start burning excess. And then we do 40 days focused on food restriction, and especially in a certain amount of time. And I have, by the way, run this program with diabetics, and it works amazingly well. If you were on last week, I was ecstatic because I had a guy just finish his 6 weeks, go to his endocrinologist, and he is now down to 1 type of insulin from 2 types of insulin and metformin. So the 12-week program, there's 12 weeks of coaching once a week every week. 6 weeks is focused on food restriction and intermittent fasting and getting in 100 ounces of water minimum a day. And then there is 6 weeks focused on putting foods back in and playing with the time of day that we eat and our fasting windows. And part of that is because I want you to have support when you're adding stuff back in, so that your first response isn't just to jump back to the nutrition plan you were on that got you in trouble. I have one woman who's gone through the program now 3 times in the last 9 months, and she has lost a total of 68 pounds. She's also no longer on her diabetes medication, which is amazing. She's also not on her blood pressure or cholesterol medication either. Thanks, Chris. So yeah, the 12-week program is phenomenal for helping people understand even what a portion size looks like. So that way, like when you go out to a restaurant to order, you can eat while on this nutrition plan at a restaurant. You just have to be a little pickier about the menu, and that's okay. And then there are recipes that I put in the group as well. So I give you some of the things that I'm cooking. Some of them are directly from some of my cookbooks. Some of them are new ones that I tried this and it went well. And so let's post this in a group. So there are things like that in there. But it's a great program. It's helped literally thousands of people lose weight, maintain a healthier weight, get off medications. And it's probably one of the best at doing that in the country, because there's that one-on-one support piece too. So if you have more questions about that, I would highly encourage you, even if you think you want to do the 12-week program, do the 5-pound challenge. It's free. It's a week of coaching from me for free. Do it. It's fun. I think there's already 11 people who've registered from TikTok. So you guys will be your own little cohort, and some of you may know each other. So, hey, Easy Cajun. I am going to hop off. I will be back on next Thursday live, and as always, keep looking for updates. And then if you join the Facebook 5-pound challenge, again, that link is in my profile. I will have some videos for you up tomorrow on what you should be doing and making sure that you get all your downloads downloaded for what you need to do. And that will kick off then for you on Saturday morning. You did. I'm 7 Mountain Time, just in case. But that will be a good time next week. I'm glad I can help, because that's really what this is all about. Like, we have to be healthier. As a country, I think we learned that a lot over the last 2 years. We have to be healthier. So have a great night, you guys. I'll see you next week.